Heartwarming reveal, poor girl mistakes her life-changing millionaire boss for a waiter. In the bustling atmosphere of Maggie's place, the aroma of fresh pancakes wafts through the air, mingling with the sounds of laughter and clinking coffee mugs. 23-year-old Emma, a waitress with tired eyes but an unyielding spirit, moved like a whirlwind among the tables. The weight of her responsibilities was heavy. Since the accident that had taken her parents, she had become both sister and guardian to her shy younger brother, Jake. She worked tirelessly, pulling double shifts to pay the bills, her heart set on giving Jake a brighter future, one where he didn't have to face the taunts of his classmates for his stutter. One day, amid the chaos of orders being shouted, a familiar voice cut through the clamor, announcing a charity event aimed at helping local kids like Jake. Emma felt a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. Maybe this was the chance to get him the help he needed. As she served pancakes, her eyes caught sight of a man in a black apron who she mistook for another server. "Hey there," she said, smiling widely. "Have you heard about the charity event?" And thus, their connection began. Emma, pouring her heart out about her dreams as she shared a table with what she thought was just another worker at the diner. She spoke of Jake, of how she tried to help him fight against the world that didn't seem to understand him. "I just want him to feel like he belongs," she confided, her voice breaking slightly. The man, Alexander, listened, and the warmth in his gaze struck her. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As their conversations flowed between sips of coffee and laughter, the walls Emma had built against the world began to crack. Each story they exchanged felt like stitching two different lives together. Unbeknownst to her, hidden beneath Alexander's unassuming demeanor was a man whose million-dollar restaurant had just opened downtown, a life separated by walls of wealth and privilege. Days turned into weeks, and with each shared moment at the diner, Emma's heart swelled with a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. She was falling for him, yet a tight knot began to form in Alexander's chest. The longer he stayed silent about his identity, the heavier that knot became. He admired her resilience, but every lie pulled at his conscience. Things took a turn when Emma, frustrated by the bullying Jake faced, decided to confront the school about resources for kids like him. Her attempts, however, ended in disaster, leaving her humiliated and angry. She didn't understand how to fight the system that seemed so helpless against the cruelty of kids. And amidst her struggles, the gap between her reality and Alexander's world widened, leaving them both feeling more isolated than ever. Then, at a town event, it all unraveled. As Alexander's true identity was revealed in front of the entire community, Emma froze. Shock rippled through the crowd, whispers filled the air, the conversation shifting from support to judgment. Emma's heart raced as she processed the betrayal raging within her. She turned away, hurt in her eyes, feeling as if the very foundation of her new dream was crumbling away. Both stood at a crossroads, eyes locked across a sea of people. Could they overcome the barriers of their backgrounds? The tension buzzed in the air, leaving every heart present wondering, could love bridge the divide, or would the chasm of class and privilege prove too great to cross? Emma's breath hitched as she turned from Alexander, the weight of betrayal anchoring her feet to the ground. The cheers and laughter faded, leaving only the pounding of her heart. She stumbled through the crowd, dodging curious eyes and hushed whispers that seemed to slice through her fragile courage. Every step felt like a fight against a tide that wanted to pull her back into the realm of hurt and confusion. "Emma! Wait!" He called after her, his voice urgent, but it was drowned out by the noise of the gathering crowd. She didn't stop. As she pushed through the throng, each familiar face felt like a judgment, each glance a reminder of her bad fortune. The warm lights of the town event dimmed in her eyes as the realization of Alexander's deception weighed on her like a dark cloud. Everything they had shared, the laughter, the late-night talks about dreams and fears, felt tainted now, rendered meaningless by the lie he had built between them. Outside, the cool evening air hit her face. It was refreshing, but it did little to calm the storm brewing inside her. When she finally stepped into the parking lot, she leaned against the railing, her fingers gripping the metal. She closed her eyes, the chaos of the event fading into the background. All she could see was the trust she had offered him, now shattered. Was it really fair to judge him? She felt a flicker of doubt. He had listened without judgment, had believed in her dreams. But $1 million restaurant owner? What could he possibly know about her struggles, the late nights spent balancing bills, and the constant worry for Jake's future? "Emma," he said, finally catching up to her. His voice was softer now, laced with desperation. "Please, let me explain." She turned to face him, her expression hardening. "Explain what? That you lied to me? That everything you said was just part of your cover?" Alexander took a step forward, his own heart racing. "No. I never wanted to deceive you. I was just scared. I wanted to know you for who you are, not for what I have." His honesty unraveled something inside her. The man who had listened so intently, who had laughed with her over pancakes and poured compassion into her every concern, felt like a stranger now, yet still brought forth a deep ache in her heart. "Then why didn't you just tell me? I was afraid you'd see me differently. I wanted to be someone you could trust," he admitted, his voice breaking. "I care about you, Emma. And Jake. More than you realize." "Caring isn't enough to build a foundation on," she responded, her voice trembling. "Do you understand what hurt feels like? I've spent years trying to hold my family together. I can't afford to let anyone get close only to have them turn out to be somebody they're not. I'm not like them." He pleaded, stepping into the space that felt abysmal between them. "I want to help. With Jake. With whatever you need." For a moment, their eyes locked, old wounds clamoring for attention, yet a new vulnerability crept into the space they shared. Emma felt the flicker of hope she had clutched so tightly begin to surge again. She wanted to believe that perhaps their worlds could intertwine, but she felt the chasm yawning vast beneath them. "You need to think about this," she said at last, pulling away from him. "I can't decide right now. Too much has happened." As she walked away, the gap between them crackled with uncertainty and hesitation. Love was risky, and right now, it felt impossibly out of reach. Emma turned one last time to see him standing there, the hurt mirrored in his eyes, but also a glimmer of something else: determination. Would they find a way to navigate the complexities of their worlds? Or would the distance between their lives prove to be an insurmountable barrier? Emma's heart raced, wondering if they'd ever find common ground to stand on. The night air was cooler than before, each breath Emma took felt sharper, more deliberate. She needed to clear her mind. Every inch of her wanted to scream, to let all the pain and confusion spill out, but silence felt like the only option. So she kept walking through the dimly lit parking lot, past rows of idle cars that almost seemed to echo her own feelings of being trapped. Her thoughts swirled like autumn leaves caught in a windstorm. How could Alexander have hidden such a huge part of his life from her? She had been so open with him, sharing her struggles with money, with parenting, with dreams deferred. It didn't seem fair, the way he presented himself as someone who understood her world when he had been sitting on a mountain of privilege all along. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps across the pavement broke her reverie. She turned to see Alexander hurrying after her, determination etched across his features. "Emma. Just give me 2 minutes. Please." She hesitated, the tightness in her chest pulling her in 2 directions. Could she face him again? Could she risk the vulnerability that had caused her so much pain just moments before? But the desperation in his eyes called to her, promising enough of a connection to make her heart flutter beneath the skepticism. "Fine," she said, her voice flat, emotion muted. "But you only get 2 minutes." He nodded, catching his breath. "Thank you. I know I messed up, but it was never about the money or my restaurant. It was always about you and Jake." His words hung in the air, heavy with intention. "You keep saying that," Emma replied quietly, trying to mask the trembling in her voice. "But can you really understand what it means to struggle? To wake up every day wondering how you're going to put food on the table? I'm just trying to make a life for my son, and I can't afford to play games." Her eyes narrowed on him, pleading for sincerity. Alexander stepped closer, earnestness radiating from him. "I know I don't have your experiences, but I want to understand. You don't have to do this alone, Emma. I want to support you, both of you. I just didn't know how to reach out without exposing my own vulnerabilities." For a moment, Emma felt the weight of his words sink in. Was it really possible that he meant it? That beneath the facade of wealth, he was just a man wrestling with his own fears? The thought was both comforting and terrifying. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "You took my trust and shattered it. What guarantees do I have that this isn't just another trap?" The fire in his eyes flickered, but he held her gaze. "You can't have guarantees in life, Emma. But I'm asking you to take a chance. We can figure this out together. I can be there for you and Jake, not as a millionaire but as someone who cares." Emma closed her eyes, the sting of tears brimming. Was vulnerability truly worth the risk? But before she could respond, the sharp sound of laughter and chatter from the gathering inside reached her ears, a stark reminder of the world she was trying to escape. She took a step back, feeling invisible walls begin to close in again, the safety of her solitude creeping back around her. "Emma," he started, but she raised a hand, feeling panicked. "I need time. I can't decide right now. Not when everything feels so tangled." Alexander nodded slowly, disappointment etched in his features, but there was an understanding, too. "I'll be waiting. Just think about it." As he turned to leave, something inside her yearned to call him back. It was that flicker of hope again, whispering that maybe, just maybe, love could emerge from this chaos. Turning away, she struggled to push down the swirl of emotions that wrapped around her heart. Perhaps this wasn't the end, maybe it was just the beginning. What would she do when the dawn broke, and the reality of her choices confronted her? Emma took a deep breath, knowing the next steps would shape not only her life, but Jake's as well, and in that knowledge lay both hope and fear. Would she truly be brave enough to embrace the unknown? Emma stepped away from the faint glow of the gathering, the laughter and music fading behind her. The cool air wrapped around her like a thick blanket, stifling yet familiar. She felt betrayed by her own heart, a heart that seemed intent on believing in the good, even when trust was shattered. As she wandered toward her car, her mind churned with questions. Was she really supposed to give him a chance? The wounds from the past still throbbed, and she couldn't just sweep them under the rug. She leaned against the dusty hood of her car, the weight of her thoughts pressing down on her. The engine hummed softly, a reminder of both mundane responsibilities and lingering dreams. Jake was counting on her. She could never forget that. He was her anchor, the reason she took each step forward, even through pain. The image of his bright smile flickered in her mind. She imagined him drawing on his bedroom walls, his art spilling joy into the emptiness that sometimes spiraled within her. Would Alexander really come through for them? At that moment, doubt threatened to drown her, thick and slippery. Taking a shaky breath, she pulled out her phone and scrolled through the pictures of her son, his little face plastered with chocolate cake, or the time he had sprouted a handful of daisies for her on a walk in the park. Each snapshot tugged at her heartstrings, coaxing her fear away like the dawn dispels the night. Just then, her phone buzzed in her hand, an unsettling vibration that sent her heart racing. It was a message from Alexander. "I'm truly sorry. I know you need time, but I hope you consider what I said. You're not alone in this." A pang of warmth spread through her chest, but she quickly quelled it. Why was she giving in to the tug of his words? She had built walls to protect herself, hadn't she? Why would she start tearing them down based on a promise from a man whom she barely knew? Yet she chuckled softly to herself, remembering how easily he had slipped past those walls, even for a moment. Could he be the help she desperately needed? Her reality felt chaotic. Finances, work, and parenting, juggling it all often left her breathless. She imagined those endless late nights working, the scrimping and saving, the tireless grind to create a stable life for Jake. The thought of someone coming in to lighten that load was intoxicating. But was it too good to be true? She stood there, frozen, the chill of the night air blending with the warmth bubbling inside her. Maybe this was a moment to redefine vulnerability, to allow herself the chance to hope again. It terrified her. What if he hurt her again? The question loomed in her mind, but alongside it fluttered the possibility of a partnership, of facing each day with support. With resolve, she sent a quick response back, "I'll think about it. But I need to be sure." As she got into her car, the engine roared to life, and she closed her eyes for a second. Maybe, just maybe, allowing someone to share the weight didn't have to spell disaster. Maybe Alexander was right about caring for each other, about being there for one another through the darkness. But as she drove into the night, a voice in her head whispered of caution, reminding her that deep down, she still didn't know the full story. What shadows lingered in the corners of Alexander's world? When would the truth finally emerge, and would it unite them or tear them apart again? She clenched her steering wheel tighter, feeling the gravity of her decision weighing heavily on her. The road ahead was dark, and uncertainty stretched before her like an uncharted path. Would she have the courage to travel it? As the headlights illuminated her surroundings, a storm of emotions raged within her. Emma reached for her phone once more, her fingers trembling. She tapped a message to Alexander, "Let us meet tomorrow. I need to talk." Little did she know, that decision would lead to revelations that could change everything. What truth was waiting just around the corner? The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden glow through the scattered clouds as Emma pulled into a small cafe parking lot. Her heart raced with anticipation, a flurry of emotions battling for dominance. She brushed her fingers through her hair, taking a moment to collect herself before stepping out of the car. Was she truly ready for this conversation? As she walked toward the cafe entrance, Emma glared at the reflection in the windows. The woman staring back looked worn, as if carrying the weight of the world. But within her lingered a flicker of hope. Today could mark a turning point. It had to. Inside, the inviting aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with sugary pastries. She found a seat in the corner and ordered a latte, her hands trembling slightly on the table. The minutes ticked by slowly. With every passing second, doubt and hope tangled together, leaving her more anxious than ever. What if today turned out to be another dead end? Just then, the bell above the door tinkled, and in walked Alexander, looking effortlessly dapper in a fitted navy blazer. His eyes scanned the room before landing on her, a soft smile spreading across his face. Emma's stomach twisted into knots as he approached. There was something genuine in his gaze, yet she couldn't entirely shake her apprehension. "Hey," he greeted warmly, sliding into the seat across from her. "Thanks for meeting me." "Of course," Emma replied, her voice barely rising above a whisper. She fidgeted with her mug, the heat sinking into her palms. "I wanted to talk about everything." He nodded, his smile fading just slightly. "I appreciate that. It's important to me that we address what has been going on." Emma took a deep breath, her muscles tightening. "I don't know if I can trust you, Alexander. Things from my past, they haunt me. I've built walls to protect myself and Jake, and it's hard to consider tearing them down." "I understand," he said gently, his gaze steady and sincere. "But I'm here to show you that I'm not the man you think I am. I want to help. Just give me a chance. What do you know about my life?" Emma challenged, the words spilling out before she could stop them. I don't want to end up getting hurt again. Or worse, hurt Jake. He leaned forward, earnest and unflinching. I don't know everything. But I know what it's like to feel alone, to carry burdens without support. It doesn't have to be that way. As his confession hung in the air, Emma felt a wave of vulnerability wash over her. There was strength in his voice, a humble appeal that tugged at her heart. What changed for you? She asked before she could second-guess herself. Alexander hesitated, his expression darkening momentarily. Life threw me some curveballs, too. I lost my way once. But I found support when I least expected it, and it changed my life. Emma's heart softened a little. Perhaps they were more alike than different. They talked for what felt like ages, sharing small stories and laughter over their coffee. It was surprisingly easy, the way their conversation flowed. Emma was caught off guard by how natural it felt to be candid with him, exchanging snippets of their lives. But then, responsibility clouded the moment. What about your job? She pressed, remembering the wealth hinted at in the podcast. What if you just want to help me to feel good about yourself? Or to ease your guilt? He sighed, the playful shimmer in his eyes flickering for a moment. I can't change my past, Emma. But I'm not here for pity, I'm here for you and Jake. I want us to be a team. A doubt lingered in her mind. Was he being genuine? The possibility of a partnership glimmered before her, but the past was always lurking. Can I trust you, Alexander? She finally asked, her voice trembling. He leaned closer, earnestness etched across his features. I promise you, I'm not the man you fear. Let me prove it. As Emma stared into his eyes, a frightening thought crept into her mind. What if he was only pretending? Everything inside her twisted sharply. What was stopping her from truly believing? Okay, she said slowly, almost to herself. I'll try, but what if just then, the door swung open, interrupting her trepidations, and a man stepped in. Everything about him screamed importance. As he approached, Emma's breath caught in her throat. His gaze swept past Alexander, locking onto Emma with a piercing intensity. What was happening? Excuse me, the man interrupted, his voice smooth but serious. I need to speak with you. Tension soared in the cafe as Emma felt danger whispering in the back of her mind. What did he want? Why did he seem to know her? Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she took in the man before her. He was tall, with sharp features and an air of authority that made her uneasy. She glanced at Alexander, who looked equally taken aback. It was as if the weight of the world had shifted dramatically in that single moment. Who are you? She managed to stammer, her voice barely above a whisper. The man took a step closer, leaning on the table, his eyes narrowing slightly. My name is Marcus. I have been looking for you, Emma. Panic washed over her. Why? What do you want? It's about Jake. His words hung in the air like lead, and for a moment, everything else faded away. Emma felt her breath catch, her focus narrowing. What do you know about Jake? She said, her voice trembling now. Marcus took a deep breath, considering his words. I know more than you think. We need to discuss your son, and it's critical that we do it now. Emma exchanged a quick, anxious glance with Alexander. Who was this man, and why was he pulling her into whatever turmoil lurked beneath the surface of her everyday life? I can't just leave with you, she stated, her tone firm but tinged with urgency. I'm not asking you to leave with me, he said, his voice low and controlled. Can we speak privately? There are things you need to know, things you might not believe. Emma felt the heaviness of the atmosphere suffocate her. She needed to weigh her options, but her instincts screamed at her to protect Jake above all. It was Alexander who intervened. What is this about? He asked, his voice steadier than Emma felt. Marcus looked at him with a flicker of annoyance before turning his gaze back to Emma. I assure you, this is about everything that concerns you and your son. The stakes are too high for us to ignore. Apprehensive, she edged backward in her chair. I can't just trust you, Marcus. Trust is earned, he replied coolly. But you can trust me when I say Jake is in danger. You may think you're protecting him by avoiding the truth, but the truth is what will save him. Emma felt the color drain from her face. The ominous nature of Marcus's words crushed her fears to the surface. What kind of danger? Someone else watching him. Someone who knows what you did, someone who will stop at nothing to get what they want. The room spun slightly as she absorbed his words. Anxiety gripped her throat. Should she believe him? Why should I trust a stranger? Emma shot back, her voice rising slightly as anger mingled with fear. Because, he said sharply, I'm not a stranger. I'm your only hope. Before she could respond, Alexander leaned closer, gripping her hand underneath the table. Emma, if he's being serious, his voice was low, urgent. We need to listen. Fighting back tears, Emma shook her head. This is my life. I can't just hand it over to someone I don't know. Then you'll put Jake at risk, Marcus said, the tension in the air heavy and electric. Emma's heart raced as each moment surged with uncertainty. She felt practically paralyzed. The walls she had built around herself cracked, threatening to crumble under the pressure of this unexpected confrontation. Finally, gathering every ounce of courage, she took a deep breath. Okay. I'll listen. But if this is a trick, the sound of a teacup shattering nearby interrupted them. A woman had dropped her cup, startled by the exchange. Emma jumped, her heart racing anew at the sudden intrusion. Let us talk outside, Marcus said, his voice hushed but insistent. As he gestured toward the door, Emma's body teetered between flight and fight. She looked into Alexander's eyes, searching for reassurance. What if this is just a wrong turn? But something inside her knew that walking away wasn't an option. She was about to step deeper into the unknown. Reluctantly, she rose from her seat. What awaited her beyond those cafe doors? As she followed Marcus outside, Emma's mind raced with more questions than she could hope to answer. Was she following a path to truth, or walking toward danger? And then, a thought struck her. What if everything she believed about keeping Jake safe was about to change forever? The brisk air outside hit Emma like a splash of cold water, snapping her fully awake. She shivered involuntarily, her senses heightened as she followed Marcus through the cafe's glass doors. The bustling noise faded behind her, replaced by a muted hum of passing cars and the distant laughter of children playing in the park nearby. Okay, we're outside. Now what? She asked, her voice sharper than she intended, betraying a mix of fear and defiance. Marcus halted on the sidewalk, glancing over his shoulder to ensure no one was eavesdropping. We need to be quick. Jake is in a precarious situation, and time is of the essence. His words were urgent, but the way he spoke made it hard for her to digest everything he was saying. Just tell me what you know, Emma pushed, her heart racing as a knot tightened in her stomach. Jake is being targeted, he said, his gaze fierce and unyielding. There are people who believe he possesses something vital to them, a secret, a connection to his past that, if exposed, could change everything. What are you talking about? What secret? Emma felt her breath hitch. The world around her blurred, all she could see was the worry etched on Marcus's face. A piece of information tied to his father you need to understand, he continued, his voice low. You think Jake is safe, but every moment you're unaware puts him further in danger. Her mind raced back to the late nights she spent worrying, the letters she had hidden under lock and key. The things she had done to protect Jake seemed to loom larger now, as if mocking her efforts. What makes you so sure? Emma asked, hoping against hope that Marcus could provide some sort of reassurance. Because I've been protecting him from a distance. I've kept an eye on your life, Emma. I've seen how you've struggled to keep Jake safe, he admitted. But there's a force behind this that's far more powerful than you think. You need to trust me. His eyes locked onto hers, filled with a sincerity that tugged at something deep inside her. She thought of Alexander back in the cafe, the way he supported her, and the countless times she had to fend off her fears alone. Could she actually rely on this man who had burst into her life with all this chaos? "What happens if I refuse?" she whispered. "Then Jake remains a target, and the clock is ticking," Marcus responded, his voice rock solid. "I can help you both if you let me." Determination began to overshadow her anxiety, but fear still clawed at her gut. "Fine. What do we do?" Keeping his voice steady, he explained, "We need to get Jake to a safe place. You'll have to prepare for a rough transition, but it's essential. If your past comes to light, it can destroy everything you've built for him." Emma felt a cold chill wash over her. Could this really be happening? She had built her life around protecting Jake, and now there was this looming threat she hadn't even known existed. "I'll gather what I need," she said, her resolve hardening. "But you have to promise me that you won't put him in any more danger." "I promise," Marcus replied, his face softening slightly before turning serious again. "We need to move fast. Are you ready?" Before Emma could answer, her phone buzzed in her pocket, a reminder of her son waiting at home. She glanced at the screen. It was a message from Jake. "Mom, when will you be home?" An overwhelming rush of protectiveness surged through her. She had to act now, not just for herself but for Jake. "I'll be ready. Just tell me where to meet you." As she turned to leave, a pair of dark sunglasses caught her eye from across the street. A figure stood watching, their face obscured, giving off an air of menace that sent her heart plummeting. "Emma, go!" Marcus shouted, his urgency reverberating around her. She dashed away, the menacing figure fading into the background, yet the sense of danger only intensified. She had taken the first step down a path fraught with uncertainty, dragging her son into a world she was only beginning to understand. Storm clouds brewed overhead as she raced home. What would the future hold, and was safety truly a concept she could trust? And as questions flooded her mind, one lingered above all: who was that stranger watching her, and were they connected to the chaos unraveling her life? Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she navigated the familiar streets toward home. Each step felt heavy, a burden of fear clung to her. The thought of Jake waiting for her, oblivious to the dark clouds gathering over them, intensified her urgency. Marcus walked beside her, scanning their surroundings as if he could feel the threat trailing behind them. His silence was deafening. The weight of his knowledge felt like a rope around her throat. "What will you tell him?" he finally asked, breaking the tension. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "I don't know," Emma admitted, her voice trembling. "I can't just drop this on him. Yes, only what if he doesn't understand?" She didn't want to scare Jake, but how could she lie? How could she shield him from something she herself barely grasped? "Kids are resilient," Marcus replied, his tone firm yet comforting. "But only if they feel safe. Right now, Jake is in danger without even knowing it. If we don't act fast, it could be too late." Those words crashed over her, a wave of reality that threatened to pull her under. She couldn't bear the thought of losing Jake, of seeing a shadow eclipse his bright smile. For years, she had protected him from the echoes of the past. Now, the past was clawing its way back. Once they reached the apartment building, Emma forced herself to breathe steadily. She took a moment before stepping inside, trying to steady her nerves. As soon as she pushed through the door, the comforting scent of home greeted her. Torn between the reprieve of familiarity and the terror of what lay ahead, she steeled herself. "Stay here," she whispered to Marcus. "I can't let Jake see you." She was grateful for his support but couldn't risk him frightening her son. "Just a moment longer, Emma," Marcus urged. "I need to tell you the specifics of our plan." "No." Emma shot back, her voice rising unexpectedly. "He'll be out of his room any second. We don't have time for explanations." There was a fire in her, if not a sense of panic, a stark determination to protect what mattered most. As she stepped toward her son's room, a surge of love overwhelmed her. She opened the door slowly, whispering his name. "Jake, honey." He turned from his toys, a bright smile spreading across his face. In that moment, the weight of the world fell away, replaced by the sheer joy he brought her. "Mom! You're back." The innocence on his face pierced through her worries. "Yeah," she said, managing a half-smile despite the tension clawing at her thoughts. "I just needed to talk to you about something important." "Cool. I was worried you got lost," he beamed, and the tension in Emma's chest eased just a little, though not entirely. As they settled at the small kitchen table, Emma kept casting nervous glances toward the door, feeling the gravity of what lay beyond it. How could she protect him? How could she shield him from things he had no concept of? "Mom, you okay?" Jake's voice broke through her whirlwind of thoughts, his brow furrowing with concern. "You look scared." She took a breath, pushing back the fear. "Just a little tired, buddy. But I promise we're okay." His eyes searched hers, as if trying to decode her expression. "Are we going to have pizza for dinner?" "Yes, pizza," she replied, forcing a smile. "But we may have to eat it on the run." The playful excitement that lit up Jake's face made all the chaos outside feel miles away, but that comfort only solidified her fears. As she prepared to step back outside with Jake, to face the unknown with a fresh courage for the both of them, a sudden loud knock echoed from the front door. Emma's breath caught in her throat, fear squeezing her heart again. "Who is that?" Jake asked, eyes widening. "I don't know," Emma whispered, her mind racing. Each second felt like an eternity as she glanced toward Marcus, whose expression morphed from calm to alert. Should she hide? Should she stay and confront whoever was on the other side? The decisions pressed heavily on her, and the clarity she needed seemed just out of reach. Panic bubbled beneath the surface as another knock sounded. This one. Louder, more insistent, filled with an urgency that made her gut tighten. "Mom." Jake's voice faltered, a question hanging in the air like smoke. Emma locked eyes with Marcus, who nodded slightly as if urging her to act. But the uncertainty gnawed at her. "Do we open the door?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. What if it was someone who'd come to threaten them? Would they keep Jake safe? She had opened a door she couldn't close, and in this moment, Alex's face flashed in her mind, someone who had offered comfort in chaos. But could she trust anyone? As she took a step toward the door, both anticipation and dread twisted in her gut. Whatever lay waiting for them on the other side could change everything. And as she rested her hand on the knob, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was just the beginning. Emma's hand trembled as it hovered over the door, each knock reverberating through her bones. Jake's small frame shifted closer to her, instinctively seeking her reassurance. His innocent eyes flickered with confusion, filling her with a mix of guilt and determination. "Stay back, sweetie," she murmured, pushing the door slightly open, her heart racing. The door creaked, revealing a tall figure silhouetted against the hallway light. Emma squinted, unable to process her immediate fear. Then, she recognized him. David? The man standing before her was a ghost from the past, a former colleague, one she hadn't seen in years. His sharp features were softened by the light of familiarity, yet his expression was tense, urgent. "Emma. I need to speak with you. It's important." "David?" she repeated, confusion muddling her thoughts. She stepped back, probing her memories for any inkling of what had led him here, while Jake peeked around her waist, curiosity sparkling in his eyes. "Is it okay if I come in?" David's voice dropped, sensing the protective instinct radiating from Emma. Emma glanced at Marcus, who still loomed in the shadows, watching every moment unfold. She inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of uncertainty. But his urgency shook her. "All right, but keep your voice down. Jake is right here." As David stepped inside, she closed the door quickly, casting a wary glance at Jake. "What is going on?" she asked in a low tone, recklessly hoping for a hint of good news buried in his frantic demeanor. "Emma, there's no time. I'll explain later, but you need to trust me. You and Jake are in danger. Someone's been looking for you both." His voice was firm but laced with an edge of fear that made her stomach churn. "Who? What do you mean?" Her heart sank at the implications in his words. "They think Jake knows something." "Knows what?" Panic momentarily replaced the curiosity. "He's just a kid." "I know, but they don't care about that. They see him as a liability." Emma felt the walls close in, breaths coming quicker and sharper. "You're not making sense. We've been living our lives, this can't be happening. Please, Emma. We don't have time. We need to move, now. Someone could catch up with us at any moment." David's eyes darted toward the door as if expecting it to burst open. The urgency in his voice fueled her own chaos. Jake tugged at her shirt, his innocence a stark contrast to the growing tempest of her anxiety. "Mom, can we just have pizza? I'm hungry." The endearing plea from her son melted her heart and filled her with a sense of resolve. "Not right now, Jake. We need to do something important." "What kind of important? Can I help?" Jake pressed, his trust evident. David sighed, his mask of authority slipping momentarily. "It's not safe, kiddo. I'm sorry. We can't explain everything right now." Emma crouched down to meet Jake's gaze. "Listen, sweetheart. There are some grown-up things happening, and we need to be brave. Can you do that for me?" He nodded, though it didn't entirely erase the worry from his face. It was there, lingering like a shadow. "Good. Let us gather what we need and leave." "We can't stay here any longer," Emma instructed, her determination solidifying. But as they prepared to leave, Marcus stepped forward. "Emma, we need to know what is going on. What do you know about this?" David's expression grew serious again. "This isn't just about Emma and Jake anymore. We need a safe place to discuss this." Emma felt the weight of their situation bear down on her. It felt as if she were balancing between two worlds, one unraveling at the seams and the other desperately clinging to normalcy. "Okay," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let us find a place then. We can't just run. But we need to be smart about it." As they moved toward the door, a thought flickered in her mind, an inkling of dread settling deep. What if this was just the beginning of something far worse than any of them could imagine? Outside, the world awaited, but each step felt heavier than the last. Little did they know, danger was already looming beyond their immediate grasp, waiting for the right moment to strike. And as they crossed the threshold into the world beyond their door, a chilling realization dawned on Emma: trusting David might just lead them into even deeper waters. What lay ahead could shatter the fragile peace they had fought so hard to maintain. Emma led the way, panic bubbling beneath the surface as they stepped outside into the fading sunlight. The once familiar streets felt foreign, coated with suspicion and unease. Jake clutched her hand tightly, sensing the shift in the air. Each step felt like they were walking on thin ice, fragile and cracked, ready to plunge into chaos at any moment. David walked closely, shooting wary glances over his shoulder. "We need to get to a safe location. I know a place where they won't find us," he urged. Despite the knot in her stomach, Emma felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this could help protect Jake, help shield him from the looming threats. "Is it far?" she asked, trying to keep her tone casual for Jake's sake. "Not too far," David replied quickly, leading them down an alleyway that was starkly quiet. They turned a corner and walked past a cluster of stores, Emma's eyes darting around, searching for any sign of danger. With each step, the reality they were fleeing from bore down on her. It felt suffocating. "Mom." Jake interrupted, his voice small and hesitant. "I don't like this. Emma crouched down to his level, squishing the fear that threatened to spill out. I know, buddy. But we have to be brave right now. Remember? That's what we talked about. I promise we'll have pizza soon. A slight twinkle lit in his eyes, and she felt a wave of relief wash over her as he nodded. They made their way to a small, nondescript cafe on a quiet street. David led them inside, and the bell above the door chimed lightly, a strangely comforting sound in the current storm. Once settled at a secluded table, Emma took a deep breath, searching for the strength to confront the reality they faced. All right, David. You said there was danger. Tell me everything, she demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. David glanced around, still wary. These people, they are connected to your past, Emma. They've been tracking you and Jake for a while now. They want something that Jake may unknowingly have. What do you mean? Emma felt her heart race. What could he possibly have? He's just a kid. It's about his father, Emma. There are things buried deep within those connections, David explained, urgency sidling into his voice. Jake might not even know he holds the key to a past that some very dangerous people want to exploit. Emma shook her head, trying to process the madness swirling around her. My past? What does that have to do with him? David leaned in closer, lowering his voice. You and Jake have been pawns in a larger game. I've learned things about your past that you don't want to believe. The secrets you buried in order to protect him, they're exactly what put you both at risk. Emma glanced at Jake, who was busy examining a crumpled napkin. The weight of David's words sank in deeper. Could the very things she had tried to shield Jake from be what made them vulnerable? I need to protect him, not drag him into this, she stated fiercely, confusion morphing into a stubborn resolve. He deserves a normal life. Nobody is suggesting you take away his childhood, David replied softly. But the truths you've hidden are a different story, one you need to face if you want to keep him safe. Emma's heart raced again, not from fear but from determination. If there was a chance to protect Jake, to make sense of her past, then she had to know. Tell me everything. David took a deep breath. You were involved in something dangerous, something that transcended a simple life. There are powerful individuals who want control over that legacy. Your past isn't buried, it's living, breathing, and it's coming for you. Her breath hitched in her throat. You mean the accident? Yes, the accident was just the beginning. The threads of your past are tangled with forces that operate in the shadows. And now, Jake is part of that equation. Every word felt like a physical blow, yet Emma's determination hardened at its core. She wouldn't let Jake be a pawn any longer. We need to act first. Where do we go? She pressed, her heart racing with renewed focus. David leaned back slightly, relieved by her resolve. I have connections who can help us. We need to move before they realize we are on to them. We can find a way to protect Jake while uncovering more about what's really happening. As they continued to strategize, Emma's mind wandered back to Alexander. His warmth, his kindness, could he really be part of whatever chaos was brewing? No, she had to push those thoughts away. This was about Jake. This was about keeping him safe, no matter what. We need to keep moving, she insisted to David. We can't afford to wait. David nodded in agreement, rising from his seat. Let us go. With Jake by her side, Emma felt fortified. The storm ahead was daunting, but now they faced it together. They pushed back against the shadows that threatened, stepping into the unknown not with trepidation but with a fierce determination to fight for their future. As they walked, every step was defiant, a promise that they would fight together through whatever came next. And together, they would unearth the truth that had buried them for so long, finally ready to reclaim their lives. This was their time for transformation, a time to convert fear into strength, discovery into power. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but it felt brighter. They would overcome, they would rise. And in that knowledge, Emma found not just hope but a fierce, burning courage that would guide them forward. But as the distant rumble of thunder echoed above, she couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was gathering, threatening to unleash its fury. They were diving headfirst into a battle, yet somehow, it felt like the beginnings of a new dawn. Their new lives together awaited. Emma was ready to fight for Jake, no matter the cost, come what may. Now, I have an urgent call to action for you. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss any more heartwarming and transformative stories we bring to you. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button right now to feed the algorithm and allow more people to share in these journeys. Got thoughts or feels about how this story ended? Don't wait, comment below to let everyone know. And remember to share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the light and inspiration. Your support means everything.